There's something a lot of older men get completely wrong when they date a younger woman. And it has nothing to do with money, nothing to do with looks, nothing to do with age itself. It's this. And the moment you do that, you lose your power. Because a younger woman is not automatically attracted to you just because you are older. She is not drawn to your age. She is drawn to what your age is supposed to represent. There's something many older men completely misunderstand when they're involved with a younger woman, and the truth is it's not about age itself. It's not about how much money they have, how established they are, or even how experienced they believe themselves to be. The real mistake often begins much earlier, in the energy they bring into the connection. Instead of allowing her to feel their presence, they start trying to impress her. And that shift changes everything. Because the moment a man starts performing, trying to prove his worth, trying to show how interesting, youthful, successful, or different he is, he slowly gives away the one thing that actually creates attraction, his grounded masculine center. A younger woman is not automatically drawn to a man just because he's older. She is not attracted to age as a number. What she is often responding to is what age is supposed to represent. She wants to feel emotional steadiness. She wants to feel certainty, calmness, self-control, maturity, direction, and a sense that this man has truly grown into himself. She wants to feel that he has depth. But when an older man starts chasing her validation, overselling himself, or acting like he needs to win her over through effort and performance, she doesn't feel depth. She feels insecurity. And that insecurity is impossible to hide for long. What many men fail to understand is that women are not only listening to words, they are constantly reading energy. She notices when your confidence is natural and when it is forced. She can feel when your presence is relaxed and when it is tense. She can sense whether you are engaging with her from a place of self-possession or from a quiet fear that you're not enough. And the second she feels that you are trying too hard, the attraction begins to weaken. Because now, instead of experiencing a man who feels emotionally grounded, she experiences someone who is secretly asking for approval. That changes the dynamic completely. Once a woman feels that you need her to validate your value, the polarity shifts. She no longer feels invited to soften into her feminine energy around you. Instead, she becomes more mentally alert, more watchful, more evaluative. She starts observing you instead of feeling you. She starts asking herself questions she should never need to ask if your energy is truly solid. Is he really confident, or is he just experienced at pretending? Is he centered, or is he trying to manage how I see him? Is he truly masculine, or is he using age like a costume to cover insecurity? And the painful truth is this: once a woman starts questioning your center, she stops relaxing into attraction. Because attraction doesn't grow in an atmosphere of performance. It grows in an atmosphere of certainty. She doesn't want to feel like she's watching a man try to become impressive. She wants to feel a man who is already deeply at peace with who he is. That is what creates trust. That is what creates emotional tension. That is what allows a younger woman to feel the difference between a man who has simply aged and a man who has actually matured. The biggest mistake many older men make with a younger woman is not something obvious at first. It often hides behind effort, enthusiasm, and the desire to connect. But underneath it, there is usually one dangerous impulse. They start trying to become younger for her. Instead of standing firmly in who they are, they begin adjusting themselves in ways that slowly weaken attraction. They change how they speak, how they dress, what they pretend to enjoy, and even how they carry themselves, all in an attempt to appear more exciting, more current, more accepted in her world. What they don't realize is that this rarely creates real desire. More often, it creates quiet disappointment. A younger woman does not want to feel that the man in front of her is abandoning himself just to fit into her reality. She doesn't want to sense that he is editing his identity in order to be liked. The moment a man begins reshaping himself for approval, he stops feeling like a masculine presence and starts feeling like someone trying to keep up. That is where attraction begins to weaken. Because what makes an older man appealing is not that he can mimic youth, but that he can embody what youth often lacks: emotional steadiness, confidence without noise, and a deeper sense of self. When a man starts chasing relevance, it shows up in subtle but powerful ways. He forces slang that doesn't belong to him. He acts overly casual in ways that feel unnatural. He becomes too eager to prove that he still has energy, still has options, still gets it. He starts performing fun instead of simply being present. He may begin to agree too quickly, laugh too hard, over-explain his value, or constantly signal that he's not like other older men. And all of this may seem harmless on the surface, but the energy behind it often reveals something much less attractive: insecurity. Women are highly sensitive to emotional subtext. She may not call it out directly, but she will feel when a man is disconnected from himself. She will feel when his actions are not coming from authenticity but from fear. Fear of being seen as old, fear of being overlooked, fear of not being desirable enough, fear of not belonging in her world. And once that fear starts shaping his behavior, she no longer experiences him as a calm, grounded, masculine force. She experiences him as someone trying to pass a test that changes the entire dynamic. Instead of relaxing into the connection, she starts becoming more aware of his need to be accepted. She starts noticing the effort behind the image. She may still smile, still engage, still stay interested for a while, but the emotional polarity begins to shift. Because now she is not responding to a man who feels rooted. She is responding to a man who feels like he is quietly negotiating for value. A younger woman doesn't want to feel like she is dating someone who is in competition with time. She doesn't want to feel like she has to reassure a man that he is still enough. What she truly responds to is a man who has made peace with who he is, who no longer needs to borrow energy from youth because he has developed something much more powerful: depth, self-trust, and the kind of presence that doesn't need to prove it belongs. One of the fastest ways an older man can lose attraction with a younger woman is by stepping into a competition he was never meant to enter. The moment he starts trying to compete with younger men, he begins abandoning the very thing that could have made him deeply attractive in the first place. He starts measuring himself against energy, style, speed, trends, and surface-level excitement, and without realizing it, he places himself in a race that strips away his natural advantage. Because the truth is, a younger woman is not looking for an older man to be a copy of a younger one. If she wanted that energy, she already has access to it. What she may be searching for is something entirely different. A lot of men make the mistake of believing they need to outdo younger men in order to be chosen. So they start trying to out-text them, out-party them, out-flirt them, out-flex them, outdress them, and outperform them. They think attraction is a game of proving they can still move at the same pace, still match the same excitement, still be seen as just as thrilling, just as trendy, just as socially sharp. But the moment a man begins operating from comparison, his energy changes. He stops feeling grounded and starts feeling reactive. He stops leading from his own center and starts responding to an invisible pressure. That pressure can be felt. A younger woman can sense when a man is secure in his lane and when he is trying to defend his place. She can feel when he is relaxed in his masculinity and when he is silently trying to prove that he still belongs in the conversation. And there is nothing seductive about a man who is mentally fighting for relevance, because attraction is not created through panic, and it is not created through imitation. It is created through contrast. It is created when a woman feels that this man offers something emotionally stronger, calmer, and more stable than what she is used to encountering. The real power of an older man is not that he can become more boyish. It is that he can become more masculine. That means he is not frantic. He is not overly available. He is not chaotic with his emotions. He is not chasing attention every second. He is not trying to force chemistry through speed and intensity. He is not trying to prove his value through constant stimulation. He knows how to slow the energy down without becoming boring. He knows how to create presence without noise. He knows how to make a woman feel something deeper than temporary excitement. That is where his attraction should come from. Not from trying to match younger men where they naturally dominate, but from offering what many of them still have not built: emotional steadiness, self-control, patience, direction, the ability to remain composed under pressure, the ability to create emotional safety without becoming weak, the ability to lead the energy of the interaction without forcing it. When an older man competes with younger men, he often loses his identity. But when he stays anchored in what actually makes him different, he becomes far more compelling. A younger woman does not need another man who is impulsive, restless, and desperate to be noticed. She may respond far more deeply to the one man who is fully comfortable, not needing to chase what everyone else is trying so hard to hold on to. One of the most damaging mistakes an older man can make with a younger woman is assuming that age automatically gives him the right to manage her, correct her, or speak to her from above. The moment he starts acting like her parent instead of her man, attraction begins to collapse. And this often happens in subtle ways that many men don't even realize. It can sound like constant advice she didn't ask for. It can show up as correction in her tone, her choices, her opinions, or the way she expresses herself. It can appear as a quiet superiority in the way he responds to her thoughts, as if his age gives him ownership over the truth and her role is simply to receive it. A younger woman may admire your life experience, but admiration is not the same as surrendering her identity. She may appreciate your perspective, your calmness, your wisdom, and your ability to see things from a broader lens, but the moment she begins to feel emotionally diminished by your presence, something inside her starts to close. Because a woman can feel when a man is leading from strength, and she can also feel when he is using maturity as a mask for control. Those two energies are not the same, and the difference between them determines whether she feels safe opening to you or whether she starts protecting herself from you. A lot of older men confuse leadership with authority. They think being masculine means always knowing better, always having the final word, always guiding the interaction in a way that subtly reminds her who has more life experience. But real masculine leadership does not need to dominate. It does not need to belittle. It does not need to lecture. It does not need to turn every disagreement into a lesson. A truly grounded man does not make a woman feel like she is being raised. He makes her feel like she is being held in a space where she can still remain fully herself. The problem with parent energy is that it immediately kills emotional polarity. A woman cannot deeply relax into her femininity with a man who constantly makes her feel watched, corrected, or judged. Instead of feeling cherished, she starts feeling managed. Instead of feeling free to express herself, she starts filtering everything she says. She becomes careful. She becomes guarded. She begins to shrink pieces of her personality just to avoid friction. And once that happens, the relationship stops feeling alive. It starts feeling heavy, unequal, and emotionally draining. This is especially dangerous, because some men mistake obedience for attraction. Just because she becomes quieter, more agreeable, or less expressive does not mean she respects you more. Sometimes it simply means she no longer feels safe enough to be fully present. She may still stay. She may still smile. She may still play the role. But internally, the emotional intimacy is already weakening. Because no woman can stay deeply connected to a man who consistently makes her feel small and still remain soft with him. A younger woman does not need a father figure disguised as a partner. She needs a man whose strength does not require her diminishment. A man whose maturity is felt through emotional steadiness, not superiority. A man who can guide without controlling, influence without overpowering, and hold his frame without turning her into someone who must constantly earn the right to be fully herself.